There comes a moment in every life when the world becomes still. It's not the absence of sound, but the deep presence of a sacred silence. In that moment, something ancient awakens within you. It is not fear, it is not urgency, it is not noise, it is clarity. A clarity that pierces through your hesitation and whispers a single truth: now. The mind resists, the heart races, but the soul understands, for the soul has been waiting for this call for lifetimes. God said, "It's now or never." That is not a phrase of pressure, it is a phrase of permission. Permission to finally begin. We often think that the most important decisions in our life will come wrapped in thunder, written in lightning, spoken with force. But in reality, the most sacred decisions appear like quiet invitations. They are presented not to the mind that debates, but to the spirit that recognizes. The call of now is not bound by clocks or calendars. It is timeless, eternal, beyond thought. And yet, it calls you to act in this very moment. This paradox, eternal yet immediate, is the secret rhythm of all transformation. The human mind is a creature of postponement. It says, "I will start when I feel ready. I will forgive when they apologize. I will heal when life slows down. I will move forward when I know exactly what to do." But life doesn't wait. The stream does not stop flowing for the stone to gather courage. The mountain does not pause its stillness until you are ready to climb. And God, who breathes life into your spirit, who watches patiently through every lifetime, does not force your hand, but when He speaks with the weight of all eternity behind a single breath. Now, what is it that you have been waiting to begin? What seed in your heart has been asking for water? What truth inside of you has been silenced by fear? The world is not waiting. The opportunity you seek, the transformation you desire, the strength you long to embody, they are not waiting for some perfect hour to arrive. They are waiting for you to say yes. Not someday, not one day, but now. Because now is all there truly is. You see, the illusion of time has imprisoned countless souls. Later becomes the graveyard of intention. Tomorrow becomes the lie we tell ourselves to avoid the discomfort of change. But God did not design your spirit for delay. He designed it for presence. He infused your being with the breath of this moment. That breath you just took, that is proof that you are alive now. Not yesterday, not next year, now. And if you are alive now, then the path forward can only begin here. The sages of old, the monks of the mountains, the saints who walked barefoot through deserts, they did not become wise by accumulating information. They became wise by aligning with this moment. They did not chase the future or cling to the past. They anchored themselves in the eternal now. That's why when you are present, truly present, something within you remembers. You remember your essence. You remember that you are not broken. You remember that you are not behind. You remember that the power you seek is already inside you, but it can only awaken in the present. When you delay, you separate yourself from that power. When you wait, you rob yourself of alignment. There is no version of you in the future that will be more connected than the version who chooses now. Because the real you is not becoming, he is being. She is already here. You do not need more time, you need more presence. You do not need more knowledge, you need more alignment. You do not need more answers, you need to say yes. The voice of hesitation will always try to interrupt. It will say, "But what if I'm not ready? What if I fail? What if this is not the right path?" And to those voices, we respond with stillness. Not argument, not resistance, but awareness. The mind speaks in doubt, but the soul speaks in silence. And in that silence, the answer is always clear. If the path is in front of you, then the step is yours to take. If the breath is still flowing, then the calling still remains. You have not missed it. You have only been paused. But now God says move, and when God speaks, creation listens. There is a divine rhythm to the universe. It is not linear. It does not operate according to your calendar. It follows the timing of truth. It moves with the winds of grace. And when your life aligns with that rhythm, you begin to see clearly. Doors that seemed closed begin to open. Strength you thought you lacked begins to rise. Fear that once paralyzed you begins to dissolve. Why? Because you are no longer in resistance. You are no longer negotiating with time. You are walking with the pulse of the now. When a Shaolin warrior trains, he does not ask, is this the right day to practice? He does not wait until he feels confident. He shows up. And in that consistency, transformation happens. In that discipline, mastery emerges. You must learn to treat your inner work with the same reverence. Stop waiting for the right mood. Stop hoping for perfect conditions. Begin now. Begin with the fear. Begin with the doubt. Begin with the uncertainty. But begin. Because when you begin, you change the frequency of your life. You move from theory to embodiment. You move from wishing to becoming. You move from dreaming to doing. And God does not respond to indecision. He responds to devotion. Show him your devotion, not by waiting, but by acting. Let your actions be your prayer. Let your decision to begin now be your offering to the divine. It's easy to believe that someday you will find the courage, that with more time, more books, more videos, more healing, you will be fully ready. But the truth is, healing begins the moment you say yes to now. Wisdom unfolds the moment you stop running. Strength rises the moment you take the first step. And all the support you need will only appear when you are in motion, not before. This is not a punishment, it is protection. If you had received everything before you moved, you would have never developed the faith to carry it. So life waits. And then one day it whispers, now. That day is today. Maybe there is a conversation you've been avoiding, a decision you've been delaying, a gift you've been hiding, a truth you've been denying. Hear me when I say there will never be a moment that feels more certain than the one you are in now. Not because this moment is perfect, but because it is real. It is here. It is yours. The future does not belong to those who wait. It belongs to those who decide. When God speaks, he does not ask for permission. He speaks with clarity. He speaks with knowing. And if his voice has reached your soul with this simple truth, it's now or never, then understand the weight of that message. He is not threatening you. He is loving you. He is calling you to the highest version of yourself. He is inviting you to step out of the waiting room and into the temple of purpose. Dekher, now is not just a moment, it is a portal, and the only thing you must do is walk through. You don't need to know what lies on the other side. You don't need to have a guarantee. You only need to trust that if God is calling you, then the path is already blessed. It is not the easy path, it is not the popular path, but it is the path of truth. And truth is the only thing that will set your soul free. So breathe in, feel the weight of everything you've carried, all the delays, all the stories, all the fear. Now exhale, let it go. This breath is your reminder. You are here. You are alive. You are called. Begin now, not because it is easy, not because you are fully confident, but because it is time. God said, it's now or never. And your soul already knows the answer. When the sacred voice says, it's now or never, most will hear urgency, some will feel fear, but only the still will recognize timing. Divine timing is not something you control. It is something you align with. And in order to align with it, you must enter stillness. Not the stillness of inactivity or silence alone, but the inner stillness that allows you to see clearly what the rushing world hides. The stillness that removes the fog of emotion and opinion and unveils the reality of the moment in its pure form. Without stillness, timing is missed. And the tragedy of the human journey is not that opportunities are rare, but that awareness is. When your mind is filled with constant motion, when it is distracted by the noise of the external and the clamor of inner chaos, how can you perceive when the sacred moment arrives? If a messenger comes to your door, and you are too busy shouting in another room, you will never hear the knock. And so it is with the divine. He does not always enter with fire or thunder. He arrives in subtlety, in intuition, in alignment, and only those who are still enough within can feel his arrival. It is not enough to act quickly. It is far more important to act rightly. And right action only arises from a still mind, like the surface of a lake that reflects the moon when calm but distorts it when disturbed. Your inner world must be settled to reflect divine truth. Without that stillness, you move impulsively, you choose out of fear, you respond from habit. But with stillness, you choose from wisdom, you respond from clarity, you act from knowing, not from guessing. This is why so many people miss their moment, not because they were not talented, not because they were not called, but because they were too hurried to listen, too distracted to feel, too agitated to perceive. When God whispered now, they were still busy planning. When he opened the door, they were arguing over which door they preferred. Divine timing is not a servant to your plans. It is a sacred clock that follows its own rhythm, and the soul must learn to flow with it, not force it. There is a season for everything, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to rest, a time to rise. But if you do not know how to be still, you will try to harvest what is not yet ripe, or remain dormant when it is time to blossom. Stillness is the sensitivity of the awakened heart. It is the discipline of the inwardly alert. It is the quiet strength of those who trust that movement does not always mean progress, and silence does not always mean absence. In stillness, you gain access to what is unseen. The world moves fast, but the soul moves deep, and in that depth, you hear the rhythm of the divine. You begin to sense when it is time to speak, and when to remain silent, when to step forward, and when to wait. This discernment is not taught in schools. It is cultivated through inner discipline. It is the fruit of presence. And presence is only possible when you stop being at war with this moment. Most people are in constant resistance. They want the moment to be different. They want to be elsewhere, with someone else, feeling something else, doing something else. But resistance clouds perception. You cannot hear clearly while fighting what is. You cannot receive clearly while wishing it were otherwise. Stillness comes when you surrender, not to the chaos, but to the truth of now. Only when you accept the present fully can you see what it is asking of you. And this is where divine timing reveals itself, not in the grand events, but in the ordinary. In the breath before you speak, in the silence before you act, in the pause between thoughts. The moment you resist nothing, you perceive everything, and you begin to see signs where others see nothing. You begin to notice patterns where others see coincidence. You begin to understand that life is not random, it is orchestrated, but only the still can hear the music. Stillness is the gateway to faith, not belief, but faith. Belief can be shaken by doubt. Faith stands when all else falls. Because faith is not based on outer appearances, but on inner knowing, and inner knowing only emerges from stillness. That moment when you stop seeking answers from the world and begin listening to the quiet whisper of God inside you. He does not scream over your chaos. He waits for your stillness, and when you become still, even for a moment, that voice becomes thunder, not loud in volume, but unshakable in clarity. Many ask, how do I know if this is the right time? The answer is not found by speeding up your thoughts or rushing your plans. The answer is revealed in your ability to sit with the moment, in the willingness to do nothing until the right action arises from peace, not from panic. Divine timing never comes wrapped in stress. It comes dressed in grace. You will feel it not as pressure, but as alignment, not as tension, but as ease. Even if the action ahead is difficult, you will feel a strange stillness within, a sense that something greater than you is moving through you. That is the signal, that is the sign, and you can only perceive it when you are still. There is a sacred intelligence moving this universe. The same force that grows trees without your help, that beats your heart without your command, is the same force that governs timing. You are not separate from it. But you forget when you get lost in the noise. You forget when you try to control everything. Stillness is not passivity, it is partnership. It is the art of co-creating with the divine instead of struggling against the current of your own mind. When you are still, you don't need to chase opportunity. You become magnetic to it. You don't beg for answers, you receive them. You don't fear the unknown, you walk into it with presence. And in that presence, doors open. Not because you forced them, but because you were ready. This readiness is not a result of doing more, but of being more. More attentive, more grounded, more conscious. In stillness, you become empty of ego and full of awareness. And it is in that emptiness that the fullness of life enters. The voice of God does not compete with the voice of the world. He waits until you become quiet enough to recognize his tone. And when you do, you will see that his timing is always perfect. If something feels forced, pause. If something feels chaotic, breathe. If something feels uncertain, wait. Not out of fear, but out of reverence. The world will tell you to rush. The soul will tell you to align. Divine timing cannot be rushed, but it can be missed if you are not still enough to perceive it. This is why "it's now or never" is not a command to hurry, but a call to become still, to tune your being to the frequency of this moment, to listen deeply, to sense wholly, to trust radically, and when stillness gives you the green light, act with full presence, not rushed, not hesitant, but grounded. Let your movements be precise, like a monk's strike, calm, centered, unstoppable. Not because of speed, but because of clarity. You cannot align with divine timing from the surface. You must go inward. Beyond the layers of worry and opinion, beyond the noise of the mind, into the silence where God waits, into the stillness where your destiny breathes. Every flower blooms in silence. Every wave rises from stillness. Every sacred step forward begins with inner alignment. So return to yourself, not to the version filled with ambition or comparison, but to the still watcher behind your thoughts, the quiet presence that has always been there. Sit with it, breathe with it, and you will notice, the moment you stop resisting the now reveals its miracle, and that miracle may be the whisper. This is the moment. Begin. Step forward. It is time. You are not behind. You are not late. You are just being reminded to return to presence. Timing is not about the clock on the wall. It's about the alignment of your soul with the current of truth. And that alignment only comes through stillness, through awareness, through surrender. God is not asking you to race. He is asking you to remember. To remember who you are when the world becomes quiet. To remember that clarity is not found in chaos. It is born from peace. And when that peace speaks, it always says the same thing, over and over, until you are still enough to listen. It's now or never. There comes a time in your life when a path reveals itself not because you've searched hard enough, but because your soul has ripened enough to see it. The path was always there. It was waiting, but it waited for the moment when your inner sight became clear enough to recognize its meaning. And when that moment arrives, it is not accompanied by fanfare. It is not loud. It is subtle, sacred, still. And in that stillness, one message echoes from the depths of existence. If you don't step forward now, you may never see this moment again. This is not a threat. It is not punishment. It is a truth. In this dimension of form and impermanence, no moment repeats itself. What passes is gone. What you do not choose fades. What you hesitate to embrace slowly dissolves. And so, when God says, now or never, it is an invitation to courage. Not courage in the way the world defines it, loud, defiant, aggressive, but the quiet, rooted courage to move when your heart whispers, this is it. Many wait for courage to feel like strength. They wait for the fear to go away. They wait to feel fearless before taking a leap. But real courage is not the absence of fear. It is the sacred willingness to walk alongside fear without giving it control. It is the voice inside you that says, I know this is unknown. I know this is uncertain. But I also know it is necessary. You do not need to be certain of the outcome. You only need to be certain of your presence in the moment. That presence will guide you. God does not ask for perfection. He does not wait for your confidence. He speaks when your time has come, and that time may not align with your comfort. It may not align with your schedule, but it aligns with your readiness. Readiness not as a feeling, but as a truth. You are ready because the moment has arrived. The calling has risen. The path has opened. And if you hesitate too long, the door closes, not out of cruelty, but because the winds of grace are always moving, and they do not wait. The greatest tragedies in life are not mistakes. They are the moments we didn't answer. The love we didn't express. The idea we didn't act on. The apology we didn't give. The journey we didn't begin. Not because we were unworthy, but because we were afraid. Afraid to look foolish, afraid to be wrong, afraid to lose control. And so we wait. And the moment passes. And we look back with the aching question, what would have happened if I had just said yes? But the past cannot answer, it only teaches. And the present, the beautiful, eternal present, is where you redeem all missed opportunities by choosing differently now, by acting when the door opens, by listening when the silence speaks, by trusting that if this moment has come, it has not come by accident. It has come because something inside you is being called higher. You see, your soul is not here to remain static. It is here to evolve, to expand, to express. And every now or never moment is a portal to that expansion. The question is not whether you are capable. The question is whether you are willing to let go of who you were for the sake of who you are becoming, willing to risk familiarity for the sake of truth, willing to step into the unknown with reverence, not resistance. The mind will always give you reasons to wait. It is designed to protect, to preserve, to prevent risk. But the soul, your true essence, does not seek safety. It seeks alignment. And alignment often means walking away from what is comfortable in order to embrace what is real. This is not easy, but it is necessary. And God, in His infinite wisdom, will not always explain why now is the time. He simply presents the moment. And in that moment, your response becomes your path. Courage is not something you pray for. It is something you choose. It is awakened by your willingness to move. The moment you take the first step, the strength begins to rise. You don't need to feel brave to act bravely. You need only be honest with yourself. Honest about what you feel, what you fear, what you desire. And if in that honesty you hear the whisper, move now, then move. Move without knowing, move without certainty. Move with presence. Because movement aligned with truth carries its own protection. So many people wait for life to give them guarantees. They want signs. They want proof. They want certainty before they act. But true growth does not work like that. The sign you are looking for is not outside. It is within. The restlessness, the call, the inner knowing that this is your time, that you cannot stay where you've been, that something greater is calling you forward. That is the only sign that matters. And when you ignore it, life becomes heavy. When you resist it, suffering increases. But when you honor it, a quiet power returns to you. That power is faith. Not blind faith, but embodied faith. Faith that you are not walking alone. Faith that what you feel is real. Faith that the voice inside you is not delusion, but divine. That is what carries you forward when everything around you remains uncertain. That is what gives you the strength to say, yes, I am afraid, but I will still go. Yes, I do not know the way, but I will still take the first step. That is the courage God is asking of you now. If you say no to this moment, understand that life will continue, but it may become smaller. Not because the world has shrunk, but because your spirit has retreated. You may stay safe, but safety is not life. It is preservation. You were not born to preserve, you were born to expand. The fire within you will not be satisfied with comfort. It seeks expression, and only in moments of decision does that fire truly rise. This is one of those moments. This is the threshold. And thresholds are not crossed by thinking, they are crossed by choosing. So what will you choose? To stay in the familiar or to trust the whisper? To repeat the past or to create the future? To be ruled by fear or to walk with courage? That choice no one can make for you. Not even God will force you, but He will call, and that call comes with timing. If it has come now, do not ask why. Ask only, what am I being invited to become? Because this is